The gun pressed cold against Maya's temple. She didn't scream, didn't shake. She set down the coffee pot with both hands, placed it carefully on the counter so it wouldn't spill, and met the masked man's eyes through the slit in his balaclava. Her heart hammered against her ribs like fists on a door, but her face remained smooth, calm. She'd learned long ago that panic only made bad things worse. Register, the man hissed. His hand trembled. Amateur, she thought distantly. The gun wavered. Okay, Maya said quietly. Her voice didn't crack. I'm going to reach under the counter. The register button is there. I'm not reaching for anything else. She moved slowly, deliberately. The diner had gone silent except for the hiss of the grill and someone's muffled crying from booth 7. The fluorescent lights buzzed overhead, casting everything in that sickly yellow glow that made the whole scene feel unreal, like watching herself from somewhere else. The register drawer sprang open with a cheerful ding. Take it, Maya said. She stepped back, hands visible, palms open. There's maybe $300. It's yours. The robber lunged forward, started grabbing bills with shaking fingers. Maya didn't move, didn't look away. She noticed things. The Nike swoosh on his shoes, the tattoo creeping above his collar, unfinished cheap ink, the way he kept glancing toward the door. He was young, desperate, probably in debt to someone who'd break more than his fingers if he came back empty-handed. She knew that kind of debt, had grown up watching her father drown in it. There's a safe in the back, she said quietly. Under the desk in the office. I don't have the combination, but my manager does. He's in booth 3. I can ask him. The robber's head snapped toward her. For a moment, she thought he'd hit her with the gun. Instead, he stared. Something shifted behind his eyes. Confusion, maybe. Suspicion. Why are you helping me? His voice cracked on the last word. Maya's expression didn't change. Because I want you to leave without hurting anyone. That's all I want. Before he could respond, the diner door opened. The temperature in the room dropped. Maya felt it before she saw him. A change in air pressure, like a storm front moving in. The robber felt it too. His gun hand dropped slightly as he turned toward the entrance, and Maya watched his face go slack with recognition. Then fear. The man who entered didn't look like a storm. He looked like money. His suit was charcoal gray, perfectly tailored, the kind of craftsmanship Maya had only seen in magazine advertisements. His shoes were Italian leather, polished to a mirror shine. Dark hair swept back from a face that was all sharp angles and controlled expression. He moved with the economy of someone who'd never had to rush, never had to prove anything. But it was his eyes that made the robber take a step back. They were dark, cold, assessing. They swept the room in 2 seconds, cataloging, calculating, deciding, and landed on Maya with an intensity that made her skin prickle. He looked at her the way a jeweler might examine a stone under light, searching for flaws, for value. Then he looked at the robber. You're making a mistake, the man said. His voice was quiet, barely above a conversational tone, but it carried. Everyone in the diner heard it. The robber's gun came back up, but his hand shook harder now. Stay back. I'll shoot. No, the man said simply. He took another step forward. You won't. He was right. Maya could see it in the robber's posture, the way his weight shifted toward the door, the way his breathing had gone rapid and shallow. Fight or flight, and flight was winning. The gun was just a prop now, a plea. The man in the suit stopped 3 feet from the counter. He didn't reach for a weapon, didn't make threats. He simply stood there, and somehow that was more terrifying than any gun. There are 4 men outside, he said conversationally. 2 at the front, 2 at the back. You have no exit. What you do have is a choice. He paused. Leave now, keep the money, disappear, or stay, and I'll let my associates handle this. The way he said handle made Maya's stomach turn. The robber looked at Maya, then at the money in his fist, then at the door. She could see the calculation happening, the animal instinct overriding whatever desperation had driven him here. He ran. The door slammed behind him, bell chiming cheerfully, and then he was gone into the night. The diner exhaled. Someone started crying again. Maya's manager emerged from under booth 3, face pale and sweating. But Maya didn't move, couldn't, because the man in the suit was still looking at her. You didn't scream, he said. It wasn't a question. It was an observation, a test. No, Maya agreed quietly. I didn't. Why not? She met his eyes, held them, because screaming wouldn't have helped. Something flickered across his face, not quite a smile, not quite approval, something harder to name. What's your name? Maya hesitated. Giving her name to a man like this felt dangerous, like signing something without reading the fine print, but refusing felt more dangerous. Maya, he nodded once, reached into his jacket. Maya's manager flinched, but the man only pulled out a wallet. He extracted $500 bills, placed them on the counter next to the open register. For the inconvenience, he said. We didn't lose anything, Maya said. He didn't take the money. I'm not paying for what was taken. His eyes held hers. I'm paying for what I saw. Before she could ask what that meant, he turned and walked out. The door closed behind him with a soft click. Through the window, Maya watched him slide into the back of a black sedan. It pulled away from the curb smoothly, silently, and disappeared into the Los Angeles night. The diner stayed quiet for a long moment. Then her manager, Dennis, rushed forward. Jesus Christ, Maya, are you okay? Did he hurt you? His hands fluttered around her shoulders, not quite touching. I'm fine, she said. Her voice sounded distant to her own ears. That was insane. You were so calm, I thought you were going to get yourself killed. And then that guy... Dennis stopped, swallowed. Did you know him? No. Do you know who he was? Maya looked at the $500 bills on the counter, thought about the cold precision in those dark eyes, the way the robber had recognized him instantly, the certainty in his voice when he'd said there were men outside. No, she said again, but that was a lie. She didn't know his name, didn't know his face, but she knew what he was. The same way you know a predator when you see one, even if you've never seen that particular species before. It's in the way they move, the way they watch, the way the air itself seems to bend around them. Her mother had told her once, there are men in this city who own things that can't be bought. Streets, businesses, people, and you'll know them when you see them, Mija, because everyone else knows to look away. Maya hadn't looked away. I'm calling the police, Dennis said, reaching for the phone. Don't. Maya's hand covered his, her first decisive movement since the gun had pressed against her temple. What, Maya, we have to... The guy's gone. We didn't lose anything. The police will take statements for 3 hours and nothing will change. She pulled her hand back. I just want to go home. Dennis stared at her. You're sure? I'm sure. That was a lie, too. She wasn't sure of anything. But calling the police felt wrong. Dangerous, like breaking a rule she didn't know existed until 30 seconds ago. Dennis nodded slowly. Okay. Take the rest of the night off. Hell, take tomorrow too. I'll cover your shifts. I need the money. Maya, I need the money, Dennis. He sighed, ran a hand through his thinning hair. Fine, but at least let me drive you home. It's 3 blocks. After what just happened, 3 blocks, Maya repeated. She untied her apron, folded it neatly, placed it under the counter next to the register, next to the $500 she hadn't touched. I'll see you tomorrow. She walked out before he could argue. The Los Angeles night was warm and thick, the air tasting of exhaust and fryer grease. Maya's apartment building was east, toward the warehouses and auto shops that made this neighborhood cheap enough for people like her. The streets were mostly empty. A few cars passed. A homeless man slept in a doorway covered in newspapers. Somewhere a dog barked. Maya walked steadily. Her hands had started shaking now, the adrenaline finally catching up. She shoved them in her pockets. You didn't scream. She replayed the moment in her mind, the gun, the cold metal, the robber's fear, and then that man walking in like he owned not just the diner, but the air inside it, the way he'd looked at her, not with concern or relief, with interest. Maya had been looked at many ways in her 26 years. Looked through, mostly. Invisible waitress, invisible daughter of a gambling addict, invisible girl in the back of classrooms. She'd learned to be invisible. It was safer. Being seen by a man like that didn't feel safe. Her building appeared ahead, 4 stories of peeling paint and rusted fire escapes. Home. She climbed the stairs to the third floor, unlocked her door, stepped inside, and engaged both locks behind her. The apartment was small. One bedroom, a kitchen that was really just a corner with appliances. But it was hers. She'd paid every month's rent on time for 3 years. Maya dropped her keys on the counter, noticed her hands were still shaking. She made tea, chamomile, her abuela's remedy for everything. The ritual was soothing. Kettle on the stove, cup from the cabinet, honey from the jar, normal things, safe things. When the tea was ready, she carried it to the window and looked out at the street below. The black sedan was parked across from her building. Maya's breath caught. She stepped back from the window instinctively, but not before she saw him. The man from the diner. He was leaning against the car, arms crossed, looking up at her window. Even from 3 stories up, she could feel the weight of his gaze. They looked at each other for a long moment. Then he got into the car and it drove away. Maya set down her tea. It sloshed over the rim, burning her fingers. She didn't notice. I'm paying for what I saw. She understood now, understood what he'd seen. Not bravery, not heroism, something else, something he recognized. The ability to stay calm when the world was falling apart. The reflex to calculate instead of panic. To find the angle, the exit, the way through. Her father had that reflex. It had made him a good card player. Until it hadn't. Maya pulled the curtains closed, locked the window even though she was 3 floors up. She didn't sleep that night, just sat on her couch in the dark, listening to the sounds of the building. Pipes groaning, neighbors fighting, sirens in the distance. By the time dawn crept through the curtains, she'd convinced herself it was over. A strange night, a dangerous man. But Los Angeles was full of dangerous men, and she'd been invisible to all of them until now. She'd be invisible again. She had to be. Maya showered, changed into her spare uniform, black pants, white button-down, comfortable shoes. She braided her dark hair back from her face, the way she always did. Looked at herself in the bathroom mirror. She looked the same. Ordinary, forgettable. Good. The diner was busy when she arrived for her morning shift. Dennis looked surprised to see her. You came in. I need the money, Maya said again. She tied on her apron, picked up her order pad. Table assignments? Dennis studied her face. Whatever he was looking for, he didn't find it. You've got the left side, Lily's got the right. Maya nodded and got to work. Coffee, eggs, toast, refills. The rhythm was familiar, comforting. By mid-morning, she'd almost convinced herself that last night had been an aberration. A strange blip, nothing more. Then the door opened and the temperature dropped again. This time it wasn't him. It was a woman. Late 30s, elegant in a way that had nothing to do with her clothes and everything to do with how she carried herself. Black hair pulled into a severe bun. Red lipstick, eyes that missed nothing. She sat at the counter, Maya's section. Coffee, the woman said when Maya approached. Right away. Maya poured. Her hands were steady. The woman watched her. You're Maya. It wasn't a question. Maya set down the pot, looked at the woman directly. Yes. My employer would like to speak with you. I'm working. He's aware. The woman pulled a business card from her purse, slid it across the counter. Tonight, 8 o'clock. The address is on the card. Maya didn't touch it. I don't know your employer. Yes, the woman said softly. You do. They held each other's gaze. The diner buzzed around them, conversations, laughter, the clatter of dishes, but between Maya and this woman, the air was still. What if I say no? Maya asked. The woman smiled. It didn't reach her eyes. You won't. She stood, left $100 bill next to her untouched coffee, walked out. Maya stared at the business card. Heavy stock, expensive, no name, just an address in Silver Lake and a time 8 p.m. Dennis appeared at her elbow. Who was that? Wrong person, Maya said. She picked up the $100 bill, walked to the register, made change, and left it on the counter where the woman had been sitting. Then she pocketed the business card. You won't, the woman had said. She was right. Maya spent the rest of her shift trying not to think about the card in her pocket. It didn't work. Between pouring coffee and delivering plates of eggs and hash browns, her mind kept circling back to the address, to the certainty in that woman's voice, to the way the man had looked at her last night. Not like she was a person, but like she was a problem he was deciding how to solve. By the time her shift ended at 3, she'd made up her mind a dozen times. She wouldn't go. She'd go. She'd call the police. She'd move to a different neighborhood. She'd pretend none of this had happened. But when she got home and pulled the card from her pocket, her fingers were already reaching for her phone to map the address. Silver Lake, expensive neighborhood, hills with views of the city, the kind of place where people had gates and security cameras and lawyers on speed dial. Maya had cleaned houses there once, years ago before the diner. She remembered the quiet, how different quiet could sound when it was expensive. She had 5 hours. Maya stood in her small bathroom, staring at her reflection, trying to see what he'd seen. What had made him notice her when she'd spent her whole life perfecting the art of being overlooked? Her face was ordinary, brown eyes, brown skin that carried her Mexican grandmother's genes more than her white father's, high cheekbones, a small scar through her left eyebrow from a childhood accident she barely remembered. Nothing special, nothing that should have caught the attention of a man who probably had dozens of beautiful women available to him with a single phone call. You didn't scream. Maybe that was it. Maybe men like him were so used to fear that the absence of it was novel. Interesting. Maya turned away from the mirror. She had work in the morning. Going tonight was stupid, dangerous. Every instinct she'd honed growing up in a house where violence could erupt over a bad hand of cards told her to stay away. But she remembered something else too, a different instinct. The one that had kept her calm with a gun to her head. The one that calculated odds and exits and angles. If this man wanted to hurt her, he could have done it. Already, he knew where she lived, where she worked. He'd send someone to deliver an invitation, not a threat. Though maybe with men like him, there was no difference. At 7:30, Maya changed clothes, not her work uniform, not the few nice things she owned. Just jeans and a clean black sweater. She left her hair in its braid, put on the small gold cross her grandmother had given her before she died. It wasn't about faith, it was about armor, the psychological kind. She took the bus, couldn't afford a car, and calling an Uber to this address felt like creating evidence of what she wasn't sure. But her father had taught her one useful thing: never leave a trail when you're not sure where you're going. The bus wound up into the hills as the sun set, painting the sky orange and purple. Through the windows, Maya watched the city transform. The neighborhoods got cleaner, the cars got nicer. The graffiti disappeared, replaced by art galleries and boutique coffee shops. She got off, 3 blocks from the address, walked the rest of the way. The house, if you could call it that, sat behind high walls and an iron gate. Spanish colonial style, cream-colored stucco, red tile roof, bougainvillea spilling over the walls in cascades of purple. Through the gate, Maya could see a courtyard with a fountain, soft lights glowing from windows. It looked like something from a movie. There was a call box. She pressed the button. Name. A man's voice, clipped, professional. Maya Reyes. A pause, then the gate buzzed and swung open. Maya's heart hammered as she walked through. The courtyard was larger than her entire apartment. The fountain in the center burbled softly, water trickling over stone. Her footsteps echoed on the terracotta tiles. The front door opened before she reached it. A man stood there, not the man from the diner. This one was younger, maybe 30, built like he spent serious time in a gym. He wore a dark suit with no tie, and there was a bulge under his left arm that Maya recognized even though she'd never been near a gun until last night. Miss Reyes, he said, polite, neutral. This way. She followed him inside. The interior was all warm wood and cream walls and art that probably cost more than Maya would make in 5 years. The man led her through a hallway, past a living room with furniture that looked too perfect to actually sit on, to a set of double doors at the back of the house. He knocked once. Come in. That voice, the same one from last night. The man opened the door and gestured for Maya to enter. She did. Heard the door close softly behind her. The room was an office, or maybe a library. Floor-to-ceiling bookshelves lined 3 walls, filled with leather-bound volumes that looked read, not decorative. A massive desk dominated the space, dark wood polished to a gleam. Behind it, windows overlooked the city. A million lights spreading out into the distance like fallen stars. And in a leather chair by the window, the man from the diner. He looked different without the suit jacket. Just a vest and white shirt, sleeves rolled to his elbows. It should have made him look casual. It didn't. If anything, it made him look more dangerous, less contained. Maya, he said, not a greeting, an acknowledgement. You know my name, she said. I don't know yours. Dante. He gestured to a chair across from him. Sit. It wasn't a request. Maya sat. The chair was leather, expensive, and surprisingly comfortable. She kept her back straight, hands folded in her lap. Dante watched her with his same assessing gaze from last night. Measuring, calculating. She forced herself not to fidget under the weight of it. Do you know why you're here? He asked. No. You could have refused the invitation. Could I? Something flickered in his eyes, amusement maybe. Yes, I don't force women to meet with me. Maya doubted that was entirely true, but she didn't argue. Then why am I here? Dante stood, walked to a sidebar, where a crystal decanter sat filled with amber liquid. He poured 2 glasses, brought one to her. Maya took it but didn't drink. Watched as he returned to his chair and settled back into it with the easy grace of a man, completely comfortable in his own space. Last night, he said, you had a gun to your head. You didn't scream, didn't cry, didn't beg. You helped a man rob your own register. He paused. Why? Maya looked down at the glass in her hands. The liquor caught the light, glowing gold. I already told you screaming wouldn't have helped. That's not an answer. That's a deflection. She met his eyes. What do you want me to say? The truth. Fine. Maya set the glass down on the small table beside her chair. Carefully, precisely. He was scared. More scared than I was. Scared people make bad decisions. They panic, they pull triggers. I wanted him calm. Calm people are predictable. You were managing him. I was surviving. Dante smiled. It was a small thing, almost invisible. But it changed his face entirely, made him look younger, less like carved stone. Where did you learn that? My father. The words came out before she could stop them. Tell me about him. No. The smile vanished. No. You invited me here. You didn't buy the right to my history. Maya's voice stayed level, calm, the same tone she'd used with the gun to her head. If you want to know something, ask a question I'm willing to answer. Silence. It stretched between them, thick and dangerous. Maya waited for anger, for threats, for the temperature to drop the way it had in the diner. Instead, Dante laughed. A real laugh, low and genuine. You're either very brave or very stupid, he said. Neither. I'm practical. Practical. He tested the word, turned it over. All right, Maya. Here's a practical question. Do you know what I do? I can guess. Guess. She looked around the room, at the art on the walls, the books on the shelves, the view of the city spread out like a kingdom below, at the casual way he wore his wealth and power, like a second skin. You're in business, Maya said slowly. The kind that doesn't advertise. The kind where people know your name, but don't say it out loud. The kind where a man with a gun runs when you walk into a room. That's a diplomatic way of putting it. I'm a diplomatic person. Are you? Dante leaned forward slightly. Last night, you gave a criminal access to your register, offered to have your manager open the safe. That's not very diplomatic to your employer. My employer was hiding under a booth. The money's insured. Nobody got hurt. Maya held his gaze. That's the best possible outcome. For everyone but the criminal. He made his choice when he walked in with a gun. And you made yours when you helped him. Maya's jaw tightened. What is this? Why am I here? Dante sat back again, studied her for a long moment. When he spoke, his voice was different, quieter, less testing. I own 17. Businesses in this city, restaurants, clubs, a few bars, a hotel. Some of them are legitimate. Some of them, he gestured vaguely. Less so. All of them require people I can trust. People who stay calm under pressure. People who think instead of react. Understanding crept in, cold and unwelcome. You're offering me a job. I'm offering you an opportunity. I have a job. You have a minimum wage position in a diner where you were nearly killed last night. You live in a third floor walk up in a neighborhood where you probably hear gunshots twice a week. You take the bus because you can't afford a car. He paused. Am I wrong? Heat flushed Maya's cheeks. No. I'm offering you more. Better pay, better neighborhood, better life. In exchange for what? Your discretion, your calm, your ability to see clearly when everyone else is panicking. Maya shook her head. You don't need me for that. You have a whole house full of people who work for you. I have a house full of men with guns. That's not the same thing. Dante's eyes held hers. Last night, I watched you manage an armed robbery better than most of my trained security team could have. You assessed the threat, controlled the variables, minimized the damage, all without raising your voice or losing your composure. I was terrified. I know. That's what made it impressive. He leaned forward again. Terror is information, Maya. Most people let it control them. You used it. That's rare. And you want to what? Put me in one of your restaurants? Have me serve drinks to mobsters? She couldn't keep the edge out of her voice. I want to put you in my hotel, the Mariposa, downtown. You'd work the front desk initially. Learn the operation. Learn the people. Eventually, if you prove yourself, you'd manage it. Maya laughed. She couldn't help it. I'm a waitress with a GED. I have no management experience, no credentials, nothing that qualifies me for that. You have the only qualification that matters. You're calm in chaos. Dante's voice was certain, final. Everything else can be taught. And if I say no, then you say no. You go back to your diner, your apartment, your life. He paused, but the offer expires when you walk out the door. I don't make it twice. Maya's mind raced. This was insane. Men like Dante didn't offer jobs to women like her. They used them, discarded them. There had to be an angle she wasn't seeing, a trap. What aren't you telling me? She asked. Dante smiled again, that same small, dangerous smile. Smart question. The truth? Working for me comes with risks. You'll see things, know things, meet people who aren't on the right side of the law. You'll be expected to keep quiet about all of it, to be loyal, absolutely loyal. And if I'm not? The smile vanished. Let's not find out. The threat was implicit, clear. Maya understood what he was really offering. Not just a job, a door into a world where the rules were different, where power moved into shadows and loyalty was currency and betrayal was death. Her father had touched that world. It had destroyed him. I need to think, Maya said. Of course. You have until Monday, 3 days. Dante stood, signaling the end of the meeting. Romaning will drive you home. I can take the bus. Roman will drive you home, Dante repeated. It wasn't a suggestion. Maya stood, started toward the door, then stopped, turned back. Why me? She asked. Really? There are thousands of women in this city who could stay calm under pressure, women with actual qualifications. Why me? Dante looked at her for a long moment. When he spoke, his voice was quiet, almost gentle. Because when that gun was at your head, you weren't thinking about yourself. You were thinking about the other people in that diner, about the robber, about minimizing damage for everyone. He paused. That's not something you can teach. Either you have it or you don't. You have it. Maya wanted to argue, to tell him he was wrong, but she couldn't, because he was right. She'd learned a long time ago that the only way to survive was to think about everyone in the room, to calculate the angles, to find the solution that hurt the fewest people. It was how she'd survived her father, how she'd survived poverty, how she'd survived being invisible. 3 days, she said. Dante nodded. 3 days. Roman was waiting in the hallway. He drove her home in a black Mercedes that smelled like leather and money. Didn't speak except to confirm her address, pulled up in front of her building, and waited until she was inside before driving away. Maya climbed the stairs to her apartment, unlocked the door, engaged both locks. Then she sat on her couch in the dark and tried to figure out what she was going to do. On her kitchen counter, her phone buzzed, a text from an unknown number. The starting salary is $75,000. Plus benefits. Think about it. Demaya stared at the number. $75,000. She made 23,000 at the diner. Before taxes, she could pay off her father's old debts, the ones that still followed her, could move somewhere safe, could stop taking the bus through neighborhoods where she kept her head down and her bag close, could stop being invisible, but at what cost? Maya set down the phone, looked around her small apartment. It wasn't much, but it was honest, clean, hers. Working for Dante would change that, would change her. The question was whether that change would save her or destroy her. She had 3 days to decide. Maya didn't sleep. She lay in bed, watching shadows move across her ceiling, listening to her neighbor's television, through the thin walls, trying to calculate an equation that had no good answer. $75,000 on one side, her soul on the other. Except it wasn't that simple, and she knew it. Her soul had never been worth much in the eyes of the world. Not when she was 12 and her father came home with a black eye and empty pockets. Not when she was 16 and dropped out of school to work 2 jobs because someone had to keep the lights on. Not when she was 21 and he finally drank himself to death, leaving her with nothing but debts and the muscle memory of fear. She'd been invisible her whole life. Dante was offering to make her visible. The question was whether she could handle what came with being seen. By morning, Maya still hadn't decided. She showered, dressed in her uniform, braided her hair, made coffee she didn't drink, went to work because not going felt like a decision, and she wasn't ready to make decisions yet. The diner was quiet for a Saturday morning. Dennis looked tired, like he hadn't slept well either. He didn't mention the robbery, didn't ask about the woman who'd left $100 bill, just assigned her tables and disappeared into the kitchen. Maya poured coffee, took orders, delivered plates, let the rhythm of work quiet her mind. It lasted until 10 o'clock, when a man sat down in her section. Not Dante, not Roman. This man was older, maybe 60, with silver hair and the kind of deep tan that came from golf courses, not construction sites. He wore khakis and a polo shirt and looked like someone's wealthy uncle, harmless. But Maya had learned to read the spaces around people, the way other customers unconsciously leaned away, the way the busboy avoided eye contact. The slight tension in Dennis's shoulders when he glanced over from the kitchen. This man was connected. She didn't know how she knew, she just did. Coffee? She asked, please. His voice was smooth, educated. And the number 4 scrambled eggs, wheat toast. Maya wrote it down, started to turn away. You're Maya, the man said. She stopped, looked at him directly. Yes, I'm Robert Castellano. I work with Dante. He smiled. It was warm, grandfatherly, completely unthreatening. He asked me to check in, see if you had any questions about his offer. Maya glanced around the diner. 3 other customers, Dennis in the kitchen, the busboy clearing tables, all of them carefully not looking at her booth. This isn't the place, she said quietly. Fair enough. When's your break? Noon. Perfect. There's a park 2 blocks east. I'll meet you there. Robert pulled out a 20, placed it on the table. Keep the change, and I'll take that coffee to go. He was gone before Maya could respond. She delivered his coffee in a paper cup, watched him walk out, spend the next 2 hours trying to focus on the work while her mind spun in circles. At noon, she told Dennis she was taking her break. He nodded without looking up from the grill. The park was small, more of a pocket park, really. Just a square of grass with a few benches and a playground that had seen better days. Robert sat on a bench in the shade, feeding pigeons from a paper bag. Maya sat down beside him, kept a careful foot of distance between them. You're cautious, Robert observed, and that's good. You're the second person this week to show up where I work uninvited. Caution seems appropriate. He smiled, scattered more breadcrumbs. The pigeons flocked closer, bobbing their heads. Dante has that effect. He tends to disrupt people's lives. Is that what this is? A disruption? That depends on your perspective. Robert turned to look at her. His eyes were sharp despite his grandfatherly appearance. Assessing. What do you know about Dante? Only what I can guess. Guess out loud. Maya watched the pigeons, chose her words carefully. He's powerful, connected, rich, dangerous. He runs businesses that exist in gray areas. People fear him. People work for him. He's not someone you say no to lightly. All true. What else? He's looking for something. I don't know what. But men like him don't offer random waitresses executive positions because they stayed calm during a robbery. There's an angle I'm not seeing. Robert laughed. A real laugh, deep and genuine. You're smarter than you. Look, people usually are. Fair point. He scattered the last of the breadcrumbs. The pigeons fought over them, wings flapping. Dante lost his wife 3 years ago. Cancer. She was special, kind. The kind of person who's so good in everyone, even in a man like him. She softened his edges, gave him perspective. Maya didn't speak, didn't interrupt, just listen. When she died, something in him died too. He became harder, colder, more ruthless. The business expanded, but the man contracted. Robert folded the empty paper bag, tucked it in his pocket. Then last night, he saw something that reminded him of her. Not your face, not your appearance, your reaction, the way you stayed calm, the way you helped that robber, even though he had a gun to your head, your compassion under pressure. Understanding settled over Maya like a weight. I'm not his dead wife. No, but you have something she had. Something Dante's been missing. Humanity. He wants to buy my humanity. He wants to. Remember what it looks like. Robert turned to face her fully. Look, I'll be straight with you. This offer isn't entirely altruistic. Dante needs someone he can trust to run the Mariposa. Someone who can handle difficult situations without falling apart. Someone who can see the angles and make the right calls. You demonstrated those qualities. But, Maya pressed, but he also needs to be around people who remind him he's human. People who don't fear him. People who challenge him. Robert's voice was gentle. His wife used to do that. Since she died, no one has. Everyone's too afraid. I'm afraid of him. Are you? Maya thought about it, about the way she'd sat in Dante's office and refused to answer his questions about her father, the way she'd challenged his offer, the way she'd demanded to know what he wasn't telling her. No, she admitted quietly, not the way I should be. Exactly. Robert stood. 3 days. That's what he gave you. Use them to think carefully. This job will change your life. It will put you in rooms with dangerous people. It will require you to keep secrets, to be loyal to a man who operates outside the law. You're not exactly selling it. I'm not trying to. He looked down at her. I'm trying to make sure you understand what you're walking into. Because once you're in, getting out is complicated. You mean impossible? I mean complicated. Robert's voice hardened slightly. Dante isn't a monster, but he is a businessman. And in his business, loyalty matters more than money. If you take this job, you're choosing a side. There's no neutral ground. Maya stood too, met his eyes. What side are you on? Dante's for 30 years, since we were kids running numbers in East LA. Robert smiled, but it was sad. I've seen him at his best and his worst. Right now, he's somewhere in between. This offer to you? It's him trying to find his way back to his best. Whether he succeeds depends partly on whether you say yes. That's not fair, putting that responsibility on me. No, Robert agreed. It's not, but fairness has nothing to do with it. He started to walk away, then stopped. Turned back. One more thing. If you say yes, there will be people who resent you, who think you're just some girl Dante picked up on a whim. They'll test you, push you, try to make you fail. His voice was serious. You'll need to be stronger than you've ever been, smarter, more careful. Can you do that? Maya thought about her father, about growing up in a house where she had to read moods and calculate odds and always stays 3 steps ahead just to survive. About the muscles she'd built, learning to be invisible, to endure. Yes, she said, I can do that. Robert nodded. Then I'll see you Monday. Or I won't. He walked away, leaving Maya alone with the pigeons and her thoughts. She didn't go back to the diner. Called Dennis and told him she was sick. It was the first time she'd called in sick in 3 years. He sounded worried, told her to rest, asked if she needed anything. She said no and hung up before the guilt could change her mind. Instead, Maya took the bus downtown to the Mariposa. She'd never been inside, never had reason to. It was the kind of hotel where rooms started at $300 a night, and the lobby had marble floors and crystal chandeliers. The kind of place where people like her were only visible when they were cleaning or serving. Maya pushed through the revolving door anyway. The lobby was stunning. High ceilings, floor-to-ceiling windows, modern furniture that managed to look both expensive and comfortable. A front desk of polished dark wood where two people, a young man in a crisp suit and an older woman in elegant business attire, checked in guests with practiced efficiency. Maya watched them work, watched how they smiled, how they handled complaints, how they moved through the space like they belonged there. She tried to imagine herself behind that desk, wearing those clothes, speaking to those guests. The image wouldn't come into focus. "Can I help you?" Maya turned. A security guard had appeared at her elbow. Large, professional, polite but firm in that way that said you don't belong here without saying it out loud. "I'm just looking," Maya said. "Are you a guest?" "No." "Then I'm going to have to ask you to—" "She's with me." The voice came from across the lobby. Maya turned and saw Dante emerging from an elevator. He wore a different suit today. Charcoal with thin pinstripes. No tie. He looked like he owned the building, which she realized he probably did. The security guard stepped back immediately. "Mr. Moretti, I didn't realize—" "It's fine, James." Dante crossed the lobby in long strides, stopped in front of Maya. "Surprised to see you here." "I wanted to see it," Maya said simply. "The hotel, before I decide." Something flickered across Dante's face. Approval, maybe. "Come on, I'll give you the tour." He led her through the lobby past the front desk, into an elevator that required a key card to access the upper floors. The elevator was glass on one side, offering a view of the city as they rose. 15 floors, Dante said. 200 rooms. Restaurant on the ground floor, rooftop bar in 15, conference facilities, spa, the works. It's beautiful. It's profitable. He glanced at her, which is the point. The elevator opened onto the top floor. Dante led her down a hallway, used another key card to open a door. They stepped into a suite that was larger than Maya's entire apartment. Floor-to-ceiling windows, a living room with furniture that looked like art, a bedroom visible through an open door, a bathroom with a tub that could fit 3 people. "Executive suite," Dante said. $1,200 a night. Maya walked to the windows, looked out at Los Angeles spread below. From here, it looked clean, organized, beautiful, all the dirt and danger hidden behind distance and glass. "Why did you really offer me this job?" she asked without turning around. Behind her, Dante was quiet for a moment. Then, "Robert talked to you." "He did." "What did he tell you?" "That your wife died, that you're looking for something you lost." Maya turned to face him. "Did I remind you of her?" Dante's expression didn't change. "Robert talks too much." "Is he wrong?" "No." Dante moved to the window, stood beside her, close enough that she could smell his cologne, something expensive and subtle. "My wife was the best person I've ever known. She believed people were fundamentally good, even the people like me." "Are you fundamentally good?" He smiled. It was bitter. "No. But she made me want to be." Maya understood then. The real reason she was here. Dante didn't just need an employee. He needed a mirror. Someone to reflect back the parts of himself he'd lost when his wife died. It should have made her angry. Should have felt like being used. Instead, it felt honest. "I'm not her," Maya said quietly. "I know. I can't be her." "I'm not asking you to be." Dante looked at her directly. "I'm asking you to do a job, to run this hotel, to be someone I can trust. The rest is just context." "Context matters." "Yes, it does." He paused. "I won't lie to you, Maya. Taking this job means entering my world, meeting my associates, keeping my secrets. There will be things you see that you can't unsee, things you know that you can't unknow, and there will be moments when you'll question whether you made the right choice. You're really not selling this. I'm being honest, because if you say yes, I need you to stay. I need stability, loyalty, someone who won't run the first time things get complicated. And if I say no," Dante was quiet for a moment, then you say no. I'll respect that. You go back to your life. This conversation never happened." Maya looked out at the city again, thought about her apartment, her diner job, the bus routes she knew by heart, the careful invisibility she'd cultivated. Thought about $75,000, about never worrying about rent, about having power instead of just surviving. Thought about what it would cost. I need until Monday, she said. You have until Monday. They stood there in silence, side by side at the window, looking out at a city that held different promises for each of them. Finally, Maya turned toward the door. Thank you for the tour. Maya, Dante's voice stopped her. Whatever you decide, you should know something. You're stronger than you think you are, braver. The fact that you're here, asking questions, demanding honesty, most people don't have that courage. Most people aren't desperate enough. You're not desperate. You're calculating. There's a difference. Maya looked at him. Really looked. Saw past the expensive suit and the dangerous reputation to the man underneath. The one who'd lost someone who made him better. The one who was trying to find his way back. Monday, she said again. Monday. She left him there, took the elevator down, walked through the lobby where she didn't belong, pushed through the revolving door back into the Los Angeles afternoon. And for the first time in her life, Maya Reyes felt like she was standing at a crossroads that actually mattered. 3 days to choose. 3 days to decide who she wanted to be. She had a feeling 3 days wouldn't be nearly enough. Maya spent Sunday in her apartment trying to live a normal day. She cleaned, did laundry, went to the corner market for groceries she didn't need, made soup she didn't eat, tried to read a book and gave up after realizing she'd read the same page 4 times without absorbing a single word. The apartment felt different now, smaller, like a shell she'd already started outgrowing. By evening, she gave up on pretending and pulled out her laptop. The old Dell her father had pawned and she'd bought back after he died. It ran slow, the screen had a crack in the corner, but it worked. She typed Dante Moretti into the search bar. The results were sparse. A few mentions in business articles about restaurant openings. A society page photo from 5 years ago. Him in a tuxedo standing next to a woman with kind eyes and a warm smile. The caption read, Dante and Isabella Moretti at the Children's Hospital Gala. Isabella, his wife. Maya studied the photo. Isabella had been beautiful, but not in an intimidating way. She looked approachable, real, the kind of person who smiled with her whole face. In the photo, Dante was looking at her instead of the camera, and his expression was unguarded, soft. Maya had never seen him look like that. She closed the laptop, stood, paced her small living room. The truth was, she had already made her decision. Had made it the moment Robert told her about Isabella. Maybe even before that. Maybe the moment Dante had looked at her in the diner and seen something worth noticing. The question wasn't whether she'd take the job. It was whether she could live with what taking it would make her. Her phone rang. Unknown number. Maya hesitated, then answered. Hello? Miss Reyes. A woman's voice. Unfamiliar, professional. This is Dr. Sarah Chen from Cedars-Sinai Medical Center. I'm calling about your father, Marcus Reyes. Maya's stomach dropped. My father's been dead for 5 years. I'm aware. I'm calling regarding his outstanding medical bills. We've been attempting to collect for some time, and I already paid those. Maya's voice was sharp. 3 years ago. I have the receipts. It paused, the sound of paper shuffling. I'm showing a balance of $18,742. The bills were sent to collections, and that's impossible. I paid everything. I have proof. Perhaps there was an error. If you could send me copies of your payment receipts, we can... Maya hung up, sat down hard on her couch, stared at the phone in her hand. $18,000. She'd scraped together every penny to pay her father's final hospital bills, had worked double shifts for 6 months, had eaten ramen and turned off the heat in winter and walked instead of taking the bus. She'd paid. She'd kept the receipts in a folder in her desk drawer, just in case. Except now there was apparently more. Or the payments hadn't been processed correctly, or someone had made a mistake, or the debt had been sold to a collection agency that didn't care what she'd already paid. It didn't matter. The money was still owed to someone, somehow. $18,000 she didn't have. Maya pulled out her folder, found the receipts, started photographing them with her phone to send to the hospital. Her hands shook. She took 3 tries to get a clear image. Halfway through, she stopped. Looked at the phone, at the unknown number still on the screen. Thought about $75,000. Thought about what Dante had said. You're stronger than you think you are. She finished photographing the receipts, sent them to the hospital with a carefully worded email explaining she'd already paid. Then she sat in the dark and let herself feel the weight of it, the exhaustion, the unfairness of a system that could lose track of $18,000 and expect her to just find more. Her father had left her nothing but debts. She'd spent 5 years trying to bury him properly, financially speaking. And now he was clawing his way back up. At midnight, Maya made her decision. Not because she wanted power, not because she was greedy, not even because she wanted to escape her life, but because she was tired. Tired of being invisible, tired of scraping by, tired of watching the world happen to her instead of happening to the world. She typed out a text to the number Dante had used. "I'll take the job. When do I start?" The response came 30 seconds later. "Monday, 8 a.m., Mariposa front desk. Ask for Christine. She'll train you. Welcome aboard." Maya sat down the phone, looked around her apartment one more time. This was it. The moment everything changed. She should have felt afraid. Instead, she felt calm. The same calm that had settled over her. With a gun to her head, the calm of someone who'd done the math and accepted the outcome. She went to bed, slept dreamlessly for the first time in days. Monday morning arrived cold and overcast. Maya dressed carefully. Black slacks, white blouse, a blazer she'd bought at Goodwill 3 years ago. For a job interview she hadn't gotten. Her hair in a neat bun instead of her usual braid. Light makeup. She looked at herself in the mirror. Tried to see the person who worked at the Mariposa. The person who existed in Dante's world. The image was still blurry, but it was there. Maya took the bus downtown, walked the last 3 blocks to the hotel, pushed through the revolving door at 7:55. The lobby was quieter than it had been on Saturday, just a few early guests checking out. The same woman from before stood at the front desk, Christine apparently. She looked up as Maya approached. "You must be Maya." Christine's smile was professional but genuine. "Mr. Moretti said you'd be starting today. Welcome." "Thank you. Let me show you where to put your things, and then we'll get you set up." Christine gestured to another employee, a young man who'd been organizing paperwork. "David, can you cover the desk?" "Sure thing." Christine led Maya through a door behind the front desk, down a short hallway to a small office. Lockers lined one wall. A schedule hung on another. A coffee maker sat on a table, surrounded by mugs and sugar packets. "Your locker is number 7. Code is your employee number. I'll get that to you in a minute." Christine pulled out a folder, handed it to Maya. "Employee handbook, benefits information, direct deposit forms. Take these home, read them, fill out what needs filling out." Maya took the folder. It was thick, heavy. "I know it's overwhelming," Christine said gently, "but we'll take it step by step. Today is mostly shadowing, watching how things work. Tomorrow you'll start taking tasks. By the end of the week, you should feel comfortable running the desk on your own." "Okay." Christine tilted her head, studying Maya's face. "You nervous?" "A little." "Good. People who aren't nervous usually don't last." Christine smiled. "Come on. Let me introduce you to the system." The next 4 hours were a blur of information. Check-in procedures, check-out protocols, how to handle complaints, how to process payments, how to transfer calls, how to manage room assignments, how to code for different guest types, VIP, corporate account, loyalty member. Christine was a good teacher, patient, clear. She demonstrated each task, then had Maya practice with dummy bookings until she could do it without thinking. By noon, Maya's head was swimming. "Lunch break," Christine announced. 30 minutes. Employee cafeteria is in the basement, or you can go out if you prefer. Maya opted for the cafeteria. It was small but clean, with a buffet-style setup. She got a sandwich and water, found an empty table in the corner. She'd taken 2 bites when someone sat down across from her. Dante. He looked different in daylight, less intimidating, just a man in a suit eating a salad. "How's your first day?" he asked. "Overwhelming." "Christine's good. You're in capable hands." He speared a piece of lettuce. "She doesn't know about our arrangement, by the way. As far as she knows, you're just a new hire who came highly recommended." "What arrangement? You offered me a job. I took it." Dante looked at her, a hint of amusement in his eyes. Fair enough. They ate in silence for a moment. Around them, other employees chatted and laughed. Normal workplace conversation. Maya fell out of place, like she was playing dress up in someone else's life. The hospital called, she said suddenly, about my father's bills. Apparently, I still owe $18,000. Dante set down his fork. I thought you paid those. I did. Or I thought I did. There's some kind of error. Or the debt got sold. I don't know. Maya shook her head. Doesn't matter. I'll handle it. Let me. No. She cut him off. I'm not taking money from you. I'm taking a job. There's a difference. The job pays well. You could. I said no. Dante studied her for a long moment, then nodded. All right. All right. You're drawing a boundary. I respect that. He picked up his fork again. But the offer stands. If you need help, ask. Maya didn't respond, just ate her sandwich and tried not to think about $18,000 she didn't have. After lunch, Christine put her to work on actual check-ins, simple ones. Guests with reservations, no complications. Maya stumbled through the first few, but by the fifth one, the rhythm started to feel natural. Greet. Verify reservation. Confirm ID, process payment, issue key cards, explain. Amenities. Smile. It wasn't that different from waitressing, really. Just a different kind of service, a different kind of performance. At 3 o'clock, Christine left her alone at the desk for the first time. I'll be in the back office. Call me if you need anything. Maya stood behind the polished wood counter and tried not to panic. The lobby was quiet, a few guests reading in the seating area, soft music playing, everything calm. Then the elevator opened and 3 men stepped out. Maya knew immediately they were connected. Not guests, not normal. They moved wrong, talked wrong. The air changed when they entered. They approached the desk. The one in front, mid-40s, expensive suit, gold watch, smiled at her. It didn't reach his eyes. I'm here to see Dante. Do you have an appointment? Maya asked. Her voice stayed level. He'll see me. Tell him Marco's here. Maya picked up the phone, dialed the extension Christine had shown her for Dante's office. It rang 3 times. Before he answered, yes, there's a Marco here to see you. A pause, then send him up. Maya hung up, looked at Marco. 16th floor, turn right out of the elevator, end of the hall. Marco's smile widened. You're new. First day. And they've got you covering the desk already? Dante must see something in you. His eyes traveled over her face, assessing. What's your name, sweetheart? Maya. Pretty name, pretty girl. He leaned on the counter. You let me know if anyone gives you trouble, Maya. I'll make sure it gets handled. It was a threat dressed as a favor. Maya recognized it, had seen her father's friends make the same offer 100 times. Let me help you. Meaning, now you owe me. I appreciate that, she said neutrally. Elevator's on your left. Marco held her gaze for another moment, then laughed. Smart girl, I like you. He walked away. The other 2 men followed. The elevator doors closed behind them. Maya released a breath she hadn't known she was holding. Christine appeared from the back office. Her face was pale. You handled that well. Who is he? Someone important? Someone you don't want to cross? Christine's voice was quiet. Look, Maya, I don't know what your connection to Mr. Moretti is. I don't ask questions. But working here means you'll see people like that. Men who make the hair on your neck stand up. Your job is to be polite, professional, and to forget they were ever here. Understood. Christine's expression softened. You did good. Stayed calm. Didn't flirt. Didn't cower. That's the balance you need in this job. Maya nodded. But her mind was elsewhere. On Marco's smile, on the weight of his attention, on the realization that this was her life now, men like that, conversations that couldn't be remembered, secrets that couldn't be told. She'd known it intellectually, but knowing and understanding were different things. The rest of the day passed without incident. Christine taught her the closing procedures, how to balance the drawer, how to prepare the desk for the night shift. At 6 o'clock, her shift ended. You did well today, Christine said. Really well. See you tomorrow? See you tomorrow. Maya collected her things from the locker, started toward the elevator. Maya, she turned. Dante stood in the doorway to the back offices. Walk with me. It wasn't a request. They took the elevator to the rooftop bar. It wasn't open yet, wouldn't open until 7. The space was empty except for a bartender prepping for the evening rush. Dante led her to a table by the windows. The view was stunning. The city spread out in every direction, just starting to light up as dusk fell. Your first day, Dante said. How was it? Fine. Christine's a good teacher. She is. She's been with me for 8 years. Loyal, competent. He paused. What did you think of Marco? So he'd been watching, or someone had told him. I thought he was testing me, Maya said carefully. He was. What did he find? That I'm not easily intimidated. That I'm not stupid. That I know when to keep my mouth shut. Dante smiled. Good. He'll report back to his boss. Say I hired someone with a spine. That's good for both of us. Who's his boss? Someone you'll meet eventually. Not yet. Dante's expression grew serious. Marco will come back. Others like him will come. They'll all test you in different ways. Some will try to charm you, some will try to scare you. Your job is to stay neutral, professional. Don't give them ammunition. Don't give them leverage. And if they ask me questions about you, about the hotel, you know nothing. You're just the front desk manager. You check people in. You check people out. That's all. His eyes held hers. Can you do that? Maya thought about her father, about all the times she'd watched him lie to bookies, loan sharks, his own family, about how she'd learned to keep her face blank, to give nothing away. Yes, she said, I can do that. Good. Dante stood. Go home. Rest. Tomorrow will be more of the same. Eventually it'll feel routine. Maya stood too, started toward the elevator, then stopped. Dante, he looked at her. Thank you for the job, for the chance. Something shifted in his expression, softened. Thank you for taking it. In the elevator, Maya leaned against the wall and closed her eyes. Her first day, she'd survived it, had handled men like Marco, had learned the systems, had proven she could do this. But the real test, she knew, was still coming. Because men like Dante didn't hire people for their front desk skills. They hired people they could trust, people who could keep secrets, people who could look the other way when necessary. Maya wasn't sure she was that person, but she was going to find out. 3 weeks passed. Maya fell into a rhythm. Wake at 6, coffee, bus downtown, 8 hours at the Mariposa, bus home, repeat. The routine became muscle memory, the same way waitressing had been. Different uniform, different location, same performance of competence, but everything underneath was different. The guests were different, wealthier, more demanding. They expected perfection and paid enough to deserve it. Maya learned to read them quickly. Who wanted friendly conversation? Who wanted silent efficiency? Who needed their ego stroked? Who just wanted to be left alone? The employees were different too, professional, polished. Most of them had hospitality degrees from actual schools. They spoke 3 languages. They knew wine regions and thread counts and how to handle a crisis without breaking a sweat. Maya was the outlier, the girl with a GED and a waitress resume. She felt it in the small moments, when someone referenced a hotel management concept she'd never heard of, when the concierge made a joke about a luxury brand she couldn't afford to recognize, when Christine casually mentioned her semester abroad in Paris. But Maya was good at being underestimated, had been doing it her whole life. She watched, listened, learned, asked questions when she didn't understand, took notes, stayed late to practice procedures until they were second nature. By the end of week 3, she could run the front desk as smoothly as Christine, could handle difficult guests without flinching, could process a corporate group check-in while simultaneously managing a maintenance emergency and directing a lost delivery driver. The job itself wasn't the hard part. The hard part was the other thing, the thing Dante had warned her about. The men who came to see him. They came at odd hours, always well-dressed, always polite, always with that edge underneath that made Maya's instincts scream. She learned the names: Marco, who'd tested her on day 1, Vincent, who was quieter but somehow more dangerous, Robert, who she already knew, a rotating cast of others whose names she didn't catch and didn't ask for. They'd stop at the desk sometimes, make small talk, ask how she was settling in. Their questions were casual, but Maya felt the weight behind them. The assessment, they were checking her, making sure she was solid, making sure she wouldn't break. She never broke, and slowly they started to trust her, or at least to accept her presence. Vincent started greeting her by name. Marcus stopped testing and started treating her like part of the furniture, which was, Maya realized, a kind of trust. She became part of the landscape, expected, normal, which was exactly what Dante needed her to be. She saw him regularly, but always professionally. He'd stop at the desk to ask about occupancy rates or maintenance issues. Sometimes he'd summon her to his office to discuss operational changes. He was always professional, always appropriate, yet never crossing the line between employer and employee. But Maya felt the weight of his attention, the way he watched her handle difficult situations, the way he noticed when she stayed late to help with a problem, the approval in his eyes when she managed something, particularly well. It wasn't romantic, it was something else. Like he was confirming a hypothesis, proving to himself that he'd made the right choice. On a Thursday afternoon, in her fourth week, everything shifted. Maya was alone at the desk. Christine had the day off. When a woman walked in, late 20s, designer clothes, perfect makeup, she moved with the confidence of someone who'd never been told no. She approached the desk, didn't smile. "I need to see Dante." "Do you have an appointment?" Maya asked politely. "I don't need one. Tell him Gabriella's here." Something in her tone made Maya's spine straighten. This wasn't a business associate. This was something else. "Let me check if he's available." Maya picked up the phone, dialed Dante's office. He answered on the first ring. "Yes?" "There's a Gabriella here to see you." Silence. Long enough that Maya thought the call had dropped. Then, "Tell her I'm in a meeting." "He's in a meeting," Maya relayed. Gabriella's eyes narrowed. "Tell him it's important." Maya repeated it. "Tell her to make an appointment." Dante's voice was cold, final. "He suggests you make an appointment." Gabriella slapped the desk. The sound echoed through the lobby. Several guests looked up. "I am not making a fucking appointment. Tell him to get down here, now." Maya kept her voice calm, professional. "I'm sorry, but Mr. Moretti is unavailable. I'd be happy to schedule a time for you to meet with him tomorrow." "Do you know who I am?" "No, ma'am. I'm his fiancée." The word hit like a slap. Maya's hand tightened on the phone. She forced her expression to stay neutral. "Former fiancé." Dante's voice came through the receiver. He'd heard. "Tell her to leave, Maya. If she refuses, call security." Maya hung up, looked at Gabriella directly. "Mr. Moretti has asked you to leave." "Like hell I'm leaving. I need to talk to him." "If you don't leave voluntarily, I'll need to call security." Gabriella leaned across the desk. Her voice dropped low, venomous. "Listen to me very carefully, you little nobody. I don't know what lie Dante told you to get you in his bed, but you're just another in a long line. You think you're special? You think he actually cares about you? He doesn't. He's using you, and when he's done, you'll be thrown out like all the others." Maya held her gaze, kept her voice level. "I'm the front desk manager, that's all. Mr. Moretti has asked you to leave. Please respect that request." "You lying bitch. I saw the way he looks at you." "Ma'am, he looked at me that way once, like I mattered, like I was important." Gabriella's voice cracked. "Then his wife died, and suddenly I was nothing. Just a distraction he didn't need anymore. Is that what you are? A distraction?" Maya felt something twist in her chest. Not jealousy, understanding. This woman had loved Dante, maybe still did, and he'd cut her off. Cleanly, completely. The way he would eventually cut Maya off, too, when she stopped being useful. "I'm calling security now," Maya said quietly. She picked up the phone. Gabriella stared at her for a long moment, then she laughed. It was a bitter, broken sound. "You'll see. You'll figure it out eventually. Men like him don't change. They don't heal. They just destroy everything they touch." She turned and walked out. The revolving door spun behind her. Maya set down the phone. Her hands were shaking. Two security guards appeared, James and an underman Maya didn't know well. "Everything okay?" James asked. "Fine, just a misunderstanding." Maya's voice was steady despite the trembling in her hands. The guards nodded and returned to their posts. The lobby settled back into its normal rhythm. But Maya couldn't shake the echo of Gabriella's words. He's using you, and when he's done, you'll be thrown out like all the others. 20 minutes later, Dante appeared. He walked straight to the desk. His face was unreadable. My office now. Maya gestured to David, who was sorting mail nearby. Can you cover the desk? Sure. She followed Dante to the elevator. They rode up in silence, walked down the hall in silence, entered his office in silence. Dante closed the door, turned to face her. I'm sorry you had to deal with that. It's fine. It's my job. It's not your job to be verbally assaulted by my ex-fiancé. Maya crossed her arms. She said you were engaged before your wife died. Dante's jaw tightened, briefly. After Isabella passed, it was a mistake. Why? That's not relevant. It is if she's going to show up and cause scenes in your hotel lobby. Dante moved to his desk, poured himself a drink from the crystal decanter, didn't offer her one. Gabriella and I were together for 6 months, a year after Isabella died. I was not in a good place. She helped for a while. Then she started wanting things I couldn't give her. Like what? Marriage, love, a future. He drank. I was honest with her from the beginning. Told her I couldn't offer those things. She thought she could change my mind. And when she couldn't, I ended it cleanly. 3 months ago, Dante set down his glass. She didn't take it well. Maya thought about the pain in Gabriella's eyes, the desperation. She's still in love with you. That's not my problem. The coldness in his voice made Maya flinch. That's cruel. It's honest. Dante looked at her directly. I told her the truth. I didn't lie. I didn't make promises I couldn't keep. If she chose to ignore that truth, that's on her. You still hurt her. Yes, I did. He paused. And I'll probably hurt you too eventually. Everyone close to me gets hurt. That's why I keep most people at a distance. Maya's breath caught. I'm not close to you. Aren't you? Dante's eyes held hers. You're in my hotel, doing my work, keeping my secrets, meeting my associates. That's closer than most people get. That's professional, not personal. The line blurs. He moved closer, not threateningly, just closer. You're smart enough to know that working for me means being part of my world, and my world is dangerous, messy, full of people like Gabriella who want things I can't give them. I don't want anything from you except a paycheck. Now, but what about in 6 months, a year, when you know more, see more, when the boundaries get blurry? Maya stepped back, put distance between them. That won't happen. You sound very certain. I am. She met his eyes. I've watched people destroy themselves wanting things they couldn't have. My father did it with gambling. Your ex-fiancé is doing it with you. I learned a long time ago that wanting is dangerous. So I don't want. I calculate, I assess, I make practical decisions. And is working for me a practical decision? Yes. You pay well. You treat me fairly. You've given me opportunities I wouldn't have otherwise. That's enough. Dante studied her face. You're lying. Excuse me? You want something. Everyone wants something. You're just better at hiding it than most people. Maya's pulse quickened. What do you think I want? Safety, stability, control. Dante's voice was quiet, certain. You want to never feel powerless again, never be at someone else's mercy, never watch your life fall apart because you couldn't stop it. The accuracy of it stole her breath. She forced herself to hold his gaze. And what's wrong with that? Nothing. It's smart. It's survival. He paused. But safety is an illusion, Maya. Especially in my world. The more you want it, the easier it is to lose it. Is that a threat? It's a warning. Dante's expression softened slightly. Gabriella wanted safety too. Thought being with me would give her that. Protection, power, status. But the closer you get to power, the more dangerous everything becomes. Maya processed that. So what are you saying? That I should quit? No, I'm saying be careful what you want and be honest with yourself about why you're really here. I'm here because you offered me a job, because I needed the money, that's all. Is it? The question hung between them. Maya didn't answer, couldn't, because he was right. She did want more than just a paycheck. She wanted to matter, to be seen, to have value beyond the service she could provide. She wanted to stop being invisible. But admitting that felt like giving him power, like showing her hand in a game she didn't fully understand yet. I should get back to the desk, she said instead. Dante nodded. Thank you for handling Gabriella. You did well. Just doing my job. Maya. He stopped her as she reached the door. If she comes back, call me immediately. Don't engage. Don't try to handle it yourself. Understood. Maya left, took the elevator down, returned to the desk where David was chatting with a guest about restaurant recommendations. All good? He asked when the guest left. Fine, just some administrative stuff. She slipped back into her role, professional, competent, invisible in the way that mattered. But Gabriella's words echoed in her mind for the rest of the day. You think you're special? You think he actually cares about you? Maya didn't think she was special, didn't think Dante cared about her beyond her usefulness. But she was starting to realize that might not be enough anymore. She was starting to want more, and that she knew was dangerous. That evening, Maya stayed late. The night shift had taken over, but she'd volunteered to help with some inventory in the back office. Really, she just didn't want to go home yet. Didn't want to sit alone in her apartment with her thoughts. She was counting linens when she heard voices in the hallway. Dante's and someone else's. A man. The conversation was heated. Can't keep doing this. The families are getting restless. Then manage them better. Dante's voice was cold. It's not that simple. They want assurances, guarantees. They'll get what they've always gotten. My business stays clean. They get their percentage. That's the arrangement. The arrangement is changing. You know that. A pause. Then, not from my end. Dante, listen to me. You need to play politics, attend the meetings, show respect. Your father understood that. My father is dead. Exactly. Which means the old agreements died with him. You want to keep your territory? You need to. I'm not my father. No, you're not, which is why they're questioning your leadership. Maya froze. She shouldn't be hearing this. Should announce herself, should leave. But she didn't move. Let them question, Dante said. I've tripled revenue in 3 years, expanded into new markets, kept the heat off all of us. That's leadership. It's also arrogance. They won't tolerate it forever. Then they can try to remove me. See how that works out. The threat in his voice made Maya's skin prickle. I'm trying to help you, the other man said. His voice was familiar. Robert. You're making enemies. Powerful. You need allies. You need to show you're willing to compromise. I've compromised enough. Have you? Or have you just been hiding, using this hotel, using your legitimate businesses, building walls between yourself and the families? Those walls keep me alive. They also isolate you, and isolated men are vulnerable men. Silence. Maya held her breath. I'll think about it, Dante said finally. That's all I'm asking. Footsteps moving away. Maya exhaled slowly. She understood now, really understood. Dante wasn't just a businessman with questionable associates. He was part of something bigger, something structured, families, territories, old agreements. He was in the Mafia. She'd suspected, had known. In the abstract way you know things you don't want to confirm. But hearing it explicitly was different, made it real, made her complicity real. Maya finished counting the linens with shaking hands, left the numbers on Christine's desk, grabbed her coat and bag. She needed air, needed to think. The night was cool. Los Angeles in April. Maya walked instead of taking the bus, walked until her feet hurt and her mind cleared. By the time she reached her apartment building, she'd made a decision. She was staying. Not because she was naive, not because she thought she could change anything, but because leaving now would be dangerous. Because she knew too much, had seen too much, because men like Dante didn't let people walk away cleanly. And because, she admitted to herself in the darkness of her apartment, she didn't want to leave. She wanted to see where this led, wanted to understand this world, wanted to prove she could survive in it, wanted to matter. even if it destroyed her. Maya pulled out her laptop, opened a new document, started typing everything she could remember from the conversation she'd overheard, not because she planned to use it, but because her father had taught her one thing that had actually been useful. Information was insurance. The more you knew, the harder you were to erase. She typed until her eyes burned, then she encrypted the file, hid it in a folder labeled recipes, just in case, because Gabriella had been right about one thing. Men like Dante destroyed everything they touched, and Maya needed to make sure she was harder to destroy than most.